Okay, so we're recording. So my name's Jacob Larson. Not sure if you are familiar with the channel, probably not, but I've been posting videos of people that I've talked to. This is Kevin Goodall. I know him. He lives down in California, Palm Springs, and been friends with him online for quite some time. And I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk about all sorts of stuff apparently. So,
Right.
So what do you want to talk about?
Okay. Well, let's see. First of all, I want to say it's amazing this year. This is the first Zoom meeting I've ever done. So
the first Zoom meeting.
This is the first Zoom meeting that I have personally done. So
well, now that that COVID's here, this probably won't be your last because they're doing everything through Zoom meeting now.
I know, but it's taken what 9 months, and this is this is it. So fortunately, I work for myself in my home. I don't have to rely on this crap.
Right.
Did I say a bad word?
You can't, yeah, you're fine. You can't, now you can't do anything. You can't even go to the doctor. They're doing doctor appointments through Zoom now.
Yep. Yeah, my wife had one.
Yeah, a Zoom meeting. And then my daughter, she's going to school in Arizona and they've got her doing online classes there.
Yeah, my son-in-law is a teacher in Washington and he does it at home. And it's, I don't know how they do it. I don't think they do it. It's not very successful from what I hear.
This is the new normal.
But it's not normal at all, is it?
Well, I don't think it's normal. I think it's annoying, but
it's quite bizarre.
This is the new normal.
Yeah, well, no, okay, I'm going to stop you there, Jacob. We're not going to use the word new normal.
We're not going to use the word new normal.
And for the next hour or however long people want to hear this, I'm not going to say can't say it.
You're going to reject it.
I reject the whole concept of new normal.
So, and that actually brings up a good subject because you're not originally from the U.S.
No.
You became a citizen.
So, as you can see, England, well.
You actually came from another country.
I did.
To become a citizen here.
Well, it took me 40 years. It took me 40 years to get the citizenship, but I finally did it 3 years ago.
Okay.
Which I think you knew that.
So knowing what you know now of the giant mess we have, how do you feel about?
Well,
how do you feel about the U.S. now?
Not the U.S. I feel the same way. A current half of the U.S. is I shouldn't use the words I really want to say. So.
Well, you can say them. We're okay.
Yeah. Well,
let's put it this way. I'm probably going to end up saying it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but let's put it this way. It took me 40 years to get my citizenship. I saw presidential election after election go by and by and by, and I just said my piece, and I couldn't do anything about it. So finally, 3 years ago, I got it and said, "Yay! Finally, I'm going to be a proud voter for Trump, a California voter for Trump." And this is what happens. I don't believe the results in California are right.
I've heard that.
I took part in Palm Springs. I'm in Palm Springs, California. Okay, and this is unheard of. We took twice. We went 1 week, and then we had so much fun. We had to do it again. We did the drive, Trump drive. We drove from Palm Springs all the way down to Indian Wells, almost near Indio, and then back to Palm Desert to the mall. And we had thousands of cars. This is Palm Springs, Southern California. Nobody's ever seen anything like this before. But not only, this was the 2 weeks heading up to the election. Not only was it here, but it was in pretty much every area of Southern California that I saw rally after rally after rally on Facebook, with the same, even more turnout than what we had. And to think that he got 37% in California, I think last time I looked, that's wrong. There's no way.
Well, election night, see, and that's the thing. I mean, I saw something that said that he flipped California, except for on election night, they didn't even bother to count. I mean, literally, California just went blue.
Well, they do that every time. But anyway, so Yeah, we thoroughly believe, and there's a lot of people that I know that are convinced that it was we flipped California, but
Everybody's
really,
saying everybody's saying that
but it's
that
not only
Biden.
that. This is just an example. It's across the country. You know, the BS we're seeing in these other states that they're fighting. It's clear that video. Yes, if we're going to talk about this, that video. Yes, if 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 there's one person that looks at that video and says nothing to see here, they should be locked up because that
Well,
was
the video where they're pulling the
yeah,
ballots
the
underneath the
boxes.
table.
Yeah, they're pulling them out of somebody out from under the table. Yeah, it
Right.
just you cannot look at that and say nothing to see here.
Well, I mean, there's some people there. I've actually seen some posts on Twitter where people are saying that's not evidence. It's video evidence, and they're saying it's not evidence.
Well, what is it? Okay, what would be evidence? What would suffice? You know what? I'll tell you what. The bottom line, Jacob, is this, and it's what I shared with a Facebook friend in England several weeks ago. Right after the election, I'm no longer friends with him on Facebook. I couldn't take. I have a strict policy that I don't block anybody on Facebook. I don't care. There's only been now 3 instances where I've had to do it. One of them was one of your friends. She's probably she may just watch this, but I couldn't take it anymore, the lies. But anyway, so this friend in England, right after the election, I mean, it was the day after, they said, you know, as soon as Trump has said for months that this election was going to be a joke.
Right.
Yeah, we knew it, you know, because of all the rules, the laws that were changed illegally by governors or whoever. When it's the state legislatures that are supposed to make the rules, you know, they changed the rules, and we all knew it was going to be a farce. Trump knew it months ago. So,
but don't you think?
as soon as it was over, supposedly over on election day, the media came out and said Trump's making these false claims, and my friend in England right away said, "You've got no proof," and I said, it's happening right now as we speak. Okay,
Right.
they're collecting it. And besides, the media does not have a right to the proof.
Right.
That's for a court. That's for some body other than the media. They're not the ones that decide this, so they're not really entitled to the proof. Okay, so finally I said this. If I get to the point, Jake, I said to my friend, look, the bottom line is this: some people, doesn't matter what proof you prove, what proof you show, what you show them, they will not believe it. And it's just like the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. Lazarus, speaking across the gulf, said, "Please send someone to my family so that they won't come to this place." And the answer was, even if we sent someone, they wouldn't believe. And even if somebody rose from the dead, they still wouldn't believe. And
Well,
that's exactly. So that's the bottom line: is some people, it doesn't matter what evidence you show them, they will not. It's not going to be good enough. They won't believe it.
Well,
And
I mean,
that's a spiritual thing.
the Russian collusion. I mean, they believe that.
Same thing. It's a deception.
There was no proof of that,
Absolutely no, none. But why
but
did
they
they
believe
believe it?
that.
Why do they believe it? That's the question.
Well, and that's the
What
thing.
causes somebody to listen for 3.5 years to something, and then when the evidence comes out that there was nothing there, they still believe it? There's something deeper going on than just the human. There's a spiritual blindness there, that something is blocking. It's not that they can't. It's not that they don't want to see. It's that they can't see. There's blinders there. There's a blinder.
Right.
And
And see that, so that's what I was going to say. So you're actually touching on it. So there's a spiritual something going on
yes,
that is, well, and I actually made a comment similar to that, in one of my blogs. I said, people that, profess to be Christians or believers that have voted for Biden, they lack discernment. They lack discernment. And that is something that I had a few people take issue with, because obviously they voted for Biden and they call themselves believers. And so they're like, well, wait a minute, why, how can you say that? What do you say that? But that's what I see. I mean, that's what I see when you can look at both, and once again, I'm not giving Trump a pass on some of the stuff he said or done, but that's where discernment comes in, you know?
Right.
That's where discernment comes in.
Well, it's like it's what I kept telling my ex-friend in England. Said you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater,
Right.
and that's what they done with Trump. Yeah, the water's really dirty, but the baby, which is the country, the USA, they're throwing the USA out because of the dirty water of Trump. And let's face it, realistically, the problems with Trump were a long time ago. Yeah, he's changed. We all change. If there's one, not and it drove me crazy. My Christian friends, and there's some that I know voted for Joe and would not vote for Trump, and it's like, what are you thinking? This guy is for any abortion, anytime, anywhere, even after birth, like so many of them are, because they have to be. They have to take that position.
I don't know how you reconcile it. I mean,
and just that one issue alone, to be a Christian and still vote for Joe, knowing that just because Trump said some potty humor language 40 years ago in the locker room,
right.
And that was my friend in England's position. It was that statement that he said about grabbing women in certain parts. That was it. It didn't matter what else he did. It didn't matter that he almost brought total peace to the Middle East, which no one's ever done.
Right, all the peace deals and stuff.
That's just one, and you can pull up online a list that goes on and on and
North Korea
of accomplishments that Trump has done, and yet because he grabbed, he said he likes to grab women in a certain place.
Yeah, and I take issue with that entirely, because it's like, what guy doesn't or hasn't? I mean, give me a break. Neither one of us.
It's not that they have; it's that they talk like that. Everybody talks like that.
Right.
Especially when you're 25 years old and you're a millionaire,
right?
And you're a playboy, which is what he was. And let's face it, and he wasn't cool. I mean, so much of what he did back then wasn't cool. But you could also go back 30, 40 years and listen to video of him being interviewed, and he say, as far as politically and what he believes, policy-wise, he says exactly the same thing.
He was talking about China 30 years ago.
Yeah, he has not changed any policy, any thought, any belief in 35 years.
Right.
And you can go back and see the videos of that. And it's astonishing, because what politician can you say has done that?
Well, they don't. Typically what happens is they pull up 30-year-old tape where politicians said or done something entirely different.
Exactly. That's it. They change their minds all the time.
Right.
Obama's, did the same thing. That's just a recent one. But you can go back in history and all of them. They all change their minds when they get caught with times changing and, public, what's the word? Public thought changes over the, as far as liberalism's crept in, they've had to change the, I mean, Joe was against abortion. Now he's for it. Why?
Right. Well, for votes.
Why?
Votes.
Exactly. And that's the point. And my point was Trump didn't do that.
No, he didn't.
He's the same. And that was the one thing, let's face it, on that day that he walked down the escalator, I watched it live, and I was curious. It was like, what is he going to say? I mean, because I think at that time, before that day, I was for, I think it was Ted Cruz. I think Cruz was my guy. Okay. I like Ted, and that was, I mean, back then I couldn't vote, so it didn't matter, but he was the one that I thought of. But then when Trump came down that escalator,
you could have voted.
What's that?
If you were a Democrat, you could have voted.
Oh, well, yeah. Many times over the years, people have told me, well, you go vote anyway. Everybody else does.
Right.
That's illegal, but I wasn't illegal. I was legal. I was legally here. I got my green card. We went through the procedure just like proper people are supposed to do. It took us 10 years. We started in 1966.
Wow.
That was when we first applied to come. I was 6 years old.
Wow.
So, and then 1976, we finally got the okay to come. And back then, my dad had to have proof of a sponsor for somebody here that sponsored him, that promised to give him a job when he got here. That was the rules back then. And we did it legally. But anyway, so getting back to
you could have got full benefits if you'd have just walked across the border from Mexico.
Who wants to go to Mexico?
Yeah,
Sorry.
just saying.
Mexico was not on our list of places to go.
I know.
But
I
anyway,
didn't mean to interrupt you.
yeah, I even lost my train of thought. Now we're talking about the escalator, and when he came down that escalator and he said what he did, there was something that it was like, this guy's different. The way he's talking is different, and it's exactly what I wanted to hear. After observing American politics, since 1980, probably was when I was 20 years old when I first started noticing that stuff. And for the first time, here was somebody running for president that was different from all of the regular, like we've said, the regular politicians. I could tell there was something different. And then, not an hour later, after that speech, what the media did to him.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
All Mexicans are rapists and murderers.
Yep.
And I heard right after they said this, an hour or so later, and I said, no, that's not what he said. He didn't say that at all.
They did the same thing with him when he mentioned about the UV lighting and bleach.
Well, yeah, but that's recently. But back then, it was everything he said, they twisted. And there was the other thing. I remember him standing, it was outside. And remember, I think it was it was a campaign, and he was outside somewhere. And I seem to remember Navy ships or something in the background. I remember he said about, as far as New York goes, he says, I know how to fix it.
Yep.
And like I'm the only one that knows how to fix it. And I knew exactly what he was talking about. And the media twisted it and made it sound like he said that he was the only one that could fix the problems in the country. And that's not what he was talking specifically about, the corruption in New York. And
right.
it was when I noticed those things, it's like, this is going to be a nightmare. And everything he said, they twisted. And like you say, the bleach thing, they still do it. And people still believe that. They still believe that's what he said, to inject bleach.
I know.
Even Joe Biden thinks that. He said it, during the debate. Was it? Just recently, he said it again.
They're misquoting him and saying that Trump's saying to drink bleach.
Inject bleach.
Yeah. So, I mean.
So anyway.
So stuff like that, I mean, and then he had 4 years of, the Russian collusion investigations and all this other stuff. And there's still people out there. I mean, we know some that, think that after he leaves office, he's going to have all sorts of lawsuits and he's supposed to pardon himself. I mean, it's just ridiculousness.
It's insanity. And as I said, I'm convinced it's a spiritual thing. There's something at play spiritually that these people just don't get. They don't recognize it. It's controlling them. It's controlling them. And I'm going to look at the camera. Anybody that is watching this, if you even made it past this,
there's 3 people. I got 3 watchers, 3 viewers.
Okay. Well, somebody may. Oh, I thought it wasn't live.
It's not live.
So who's watching it?
But when I post it, there'll be 3 people that'll at least watch it.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know if those 3 people are believers, but I'm saying.
One's my mom.
She's a believer. Hi, Georgia.
She's not here, but she will be.
Yeah. Hi, Georgia, ahead of time. No, but if anybody by chance happens to see this, I'm gonna stand out and say, guys, if you don't believe in Jesus, you'd better get right with him, because if Joe gets in, some serious stuff's going to come down.
Well, I think he's going to get in the world. I think he's going to get in.
I'm not going there yet. I probably, I don't know. I'm not going to say that.
We don't have a Department of Justice, man.
I know.
We don't have anybody.
Okay. Oh, wait. Okay.
We don't even bring indictments.
Check this out, Jacob. I was talking last week. My dad was over for Thanksgiving, and I told him this. I said, Dad, 4 years. Oh God, however long it was ago, nobody thought Trump would win. Trump didn't even think he would win. Right. He didn't. He's admitted that. He didn't think he would win. He did against everything. Why did he do that? How? I should say, how did he win? How did he win? It was I believe God appointed that. I believe there was intervention from the Lord to make that happen. Okay. And right now we're in a similar situation. We are fighting for, the country is fighting for its life, because it will be literally be a country that we don't know, that we're not used to. The young
Right.
people may accept it. I was just talking to my wife earlier today. We spoke with somebody who was a young, probably 30-ish, and it was their response to masking, and how they've so easily gone with it and just gone along with everything they're being told. And I said, it gets, when we're of the age of where my grandparents were fought in World War II. My wife's dad fought in World War II. Okay, we hear the stories. I grew up in the Cold War. Okay, in the 1960s in England, it was constant. It was front and center. We had the IRA bombings in Ireland, terrorist acts in Ireland. We had Vietnam. We had the Chinese Revolution, the communists taking over there. We had all these things that we grew up with, and we saw the world change. I've got an atlas that was printed probably in the 20s. It's a thick atlas, and you look at that thing, and it's not at all what the world is today. The world has changed because of these powers that take over and change everything. And so I said to my wife, we grew up with all this. They didn't. These young people, they didn't. They don't know anything about socialism. They think it's great. Let's wear a Che Guevara t-shirt. They don't know he's slaughtered millions of people.
I know.
Hundreds of thousands of people.
I know. That cracks me up. Every time I see one of those shirts, it cracks me up, because I'm like, oh my God.
You just want to go up and punch him in the face, but that's not the right thing to do. So.
But okay, so once again, I mean, you said you've got an atlas that talks about the world changing, and people have been talking about America being on decline for decades now. And maybe this is just another nail in the coffin. Matter of fact, this is probably the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, but is it a legitimate nail? Should it happen? No. The answer is no. We are the last bastion of freedom in the world. I recognize that coming from England. England's a socialist country. It has been, thank God they did the Brexit, and that's starting,
Well, I heard that's not final.
Well, it's supposed to be.
Well, France is supposedly throwing a wrench in there.
Well, France is throwing a wobbler, because I was just talking to a guy I used to work for, my friend that does outsource work for me. He's from Birmingham, I'm from Leeds, so we're not that far from each other. And his brother still lives in England, and he talks to him all the time on the phone. And France has been throwing a shit fit for years now, ever since the Brexit thing, because of what it has totally stopped their fishing industry. Because it used to be that France, there's not a lot of, you look where France is located, there's the English Channel there, and then there's the Mediterranean on the other side. And the Mediterranean's done with fish, they've fished that out. That's all they eat over there. Okay, so you've got the English Channel, which it's only a 20-mile stretch of water, and that's it as far as deep sea fishing. They used to be able to fish all the way up the North Sea, up into the Arctic regions. Okay, now because it was so, their fishing industry was so strong that it wiped out the English the English fishing industry, and the France ended up buying all their trawlers and boats, or a lot of them. Okay. So England ran out of trawlers, and their fishing dried up. Now, since Brexit, that stopped. France can no longer go through the English waters like they used to do and fish. Okay.
Well,
now what's happening is the fishing grounds are coming back. England's getting all the fish they need, all the fish they want, and now I guess they're going to have to buy the ships back from France. But that's why France is throwing a hissy fit.
So that makes sense.
It's just ruining their world. Okay. And what it did was it ruined England's world.
It didn't ruin England's world?
I think it did. I remember when the foundation of it was back in 70, probably 3, 74. It was it was called the Common Market back then. Now it's the EU, or they changed the name, but the foundation of it was the Common Market. And I remember I was like 14 years old when they joined it, and it was like instinctively, from my perspective as a 14-year-old, which wasn't not a lot of brains in there, I knew it was wrong. It was no, this is England. We're a sovereign nation. We used to run the world, and now we're giving all that up, and it's destroyed. It's the European Union, the Common Market, because of their open borders. I mean, there's shiploads of people would come in. Illegally, and it's totally changed.
You've seen that happen with England. Why is it? I mean, so that maybe that's what's happening with the U.S. I mean,
it has been happening for a long time,
right? So, and I mean, you're a believer, right? So, I mean, the end game is we're supposed to lose. We lose, bro.
We lose in the end. Yeah. Well, no. We win in the end. We win in the end.
This is
at the end of the book.
Well, I'm just saying we lose. Okay.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, that's how it reads to me.
I don't give up without a fight, though. That's the problem. I don't give in, and I will I will fight. As I said, I'm a expatriate from England, now a United States citizen. I understand what it means to be.
We lose.
I'm not going to give in.
We lose, Kevin. Okay. We lose.
We lose. Mean,
that's how the end of the Bible goes.
No, the end of the Bible, we win in the end.
Well, we win in the end, but we've got to do this losing thing. So right now, I mean, shouldn't believe.
Well, then it depends. It depends. Like, no, it depends. No, it depends on what your position.
Christ comes sooner.
It depends on your position on the rapture and all that. So I don't know personally, Jake, what you are you pre-trib or post or pan-trib or whatever. What if you say we lose, the reason I brought this up and said to anybody who's watching this, if Biden gets in, you might want to rethink your spiritual position, because like what Jake's trying to say is things go really tits up, especially for Christians.
Bad.
I know that. I get that, and I understand it. Okay, but
Biden's faith is totally fake. Totally fake.
No,
strictly for political purposes. I mean, you can tell by listening to the guy, there's nothing solid there. So what I'm saying is, it's going to go downhill. It's going to go downhill fast, especially for believers.
Well, it's not so much him. It's the world. It's the way the world talks. I mean, they're giddy that he's going to get in because of the latest word is the new global reset. That word, global reset, should scare the pants out of every living person in the United States.
No more paper dollars.
Huh?
No more paper dollars.
More paper dollars?
Yeah, there's not going to be coins and paper dollars. That's gone.
No, it's
cryptocurrency.
Yeah, but it's also control. It's making like that what I talked about growing up, seeing all that change, how communism and socialism changed the world, and which one country that went through all that is better off for it. There isn't one. Okay, that's the bottom line that people should notice is it does not end well when this happens. But this global reset is going to make the US totally dependent, just like what happened to Britain in the European. The EU was a small microcosm of what's going to happen globally if this reset takes place and all of the world leaders all decide to work together. And that's going to be EU on steroids, and the US is the middle class will disappear.
So what is the global? What do you know of the global reset? What's it mean to you?
What it means to me is getting who knows who knows what it will end up. Okay, but immediately it'll be getting back into the good graces with with Europe, with the WHO, with with NATO, with all the things that Trump decided to pull away from, the United Nations, how we, we started putting the screws in and making them start to be accountable for things when it used to be all the US. All of these types of things. I totally blanked out there. The Paris Accord, the whole environmental crap. If they are really if they are really serious about this environmental stuff, and the Paris, they all want
I think
the
they
US
are.
back. They all want the US back into the Paris Accord. The first thing they need to do, if we are going to get back into that, for half of America just doesn't have a clue what they're doing. Okay, but for like you and I and
Half
some
of them have never heard of the Paris Accord.
yeah, for you and I that know what's going on, because we are somewhat informed, or we used to be until Fox sold out.
Right.
Now we have but there are other avenues that we can get info from. But as I say, what needs to happen is those people, France and Germany and all of the big shots running this environmental group, is they need to force China to immediately start cracking down on India, and especially China, though, because China is the number one.
They're never going to do it.
No, they're not. That's
They're
the
never
point.
going to do it.
Is it that until that happens, I will never agree to anything like that, because it shows it's just like the virus crap that we're going through. There's certain people that it doesn't apply to. The rules don't apply to certain people when it comes to this deadly killer virus.
No, we have an elitist category, and then there's the rest of us.
And it's the same thing with China, who are among the worst, in the top two probably world polluters, but the Paris Accord doesn't apply to them. Now,
Right.
That's bullshit.
Right.
And I'll say it. That's just, and anybody that thinks, well, no, they've given them 30 years to get their act together.
I know,
Meanwhile,
right?
the US, I remember,
Right.
Jake, I remember
30 years of pollution and you're
exactly.
good.
It only takes is one volcano to go off, and that eliminates any, anywhere in the world, one volcano goes off, and that wipes out any effort they made. Okay, so I remember. I'll say this. I remember. I came in '76. I was 16 years old, and Southern California, Palm Springs, and you've been here, right?
Yep. I
You've
came
been
to
to our
visit.
place, okay? And you remember the valley you drove in, from LA, from on Highway 111 through the valley where all the windmills are.
LA's a shithole. Yeah.
So you drove in through that valley. I remember from where I worked downtown at a gas station, it was 1976, you could see the valley, the pass. And I remember in the afternoon, there was this big brown, like the movie The Fog. Every day in the afternoon, this big, thick, brown, muddy fog would creep in through the pass. It never made it to Palm Springs. Probably environmentally there were things stopping it. Okay, it would come into a certain, and then it would stop, and then as the evening progressed, it would go away. And in the morning, it would be clear, and in the afternoon, and if you drove into Riverside to go to Disneyland or something in Anaheim, there was a point where it's beautiful blue sky, and all of a sudden you would hit that soup, and it was just brown. And I remember it vividly. It was like, wow, this is really nasty. Okay, it's not like that anymore. You can drive through there
because of the environmentalists.
Well, it's
because of the liberal environmentalists trying to save the planet.
No, it's because we did intelligent things to clean the place up.
Because of the environment.
We all agree with that. There's not one of I much prefer to be able to drive there, and we get to Ontario, and there's a hill that you come over, and then all of a sudden it's straight shot, and you can see probably 80 miles, and you can literally see the skyscrapers in Los Angeles.
Then why aren't you thinking
you can do that now? But the point is they're still telling us that our air quality sucks here, and that we have to clamp down even more. That's the point. Is that it's totally changed. It's beautiful here now. Okay. Now I don't know other areas I just know how bad it was here, and from the things that they've done, that we all went along with the gas, the clean
That
gas,
had been
and there's millions of cars driving. We don't. There's millions of cars driving around, and yet the air is as clear as it was probably back in the 40s.
Okay, so listen, Kevin, if you can see that, what it was then and how bad it was, and what they've done in terms of cleaning it up, and they're still harping on it, maybe 20 years from now, 30 years from now, to be even better.
Even better. I don't know how much better it can get, to tell you the truth. I don't see people. I don't see. We wear masks now. We wear masks now for a different reason. But you go for the last 10 years. You go to. I mean, we're big Formula One fans, both of us. We watch every race, and there was a Singapore. There's a Chinese Grand Prix, and Singapore has a race, and the people there wear masks because of the air quality, because the air quality sucks, not because of coronavirus. They literally have to wear masks because the air's so bad, and that's nowadays. That's a few years, a couple of years ago.
But certain types of masks, right?
Huh?
Certain.
No, they wore the blue ones, the surgical ones that you see.
Yeah.
Just regular, probably didn't do any
not
good.
Just anything.
Huh?
So not just anything. Mask material matters.
Yeah.
Mask material matters.
Yeah.
You can't just stick anything over your face and expect it to work.
Well, apparently we can. We know it doesn't do any good. Don't get me good on the mask.
Hey, it's a discussion, damn it.
Big a load of crap we've ever had to deal with is the mask.
There's people that have sucked.
I'm not say what I was just going to say. But okay, I heard there was somebody. I heard somebody came down with the virus, and apparently not. I mean, suffering a little bit. I don't know, but it's somebody in the media, and I'm sure this somebody in the media wore his mask all the time, just from,
right.
Because of what this person has said, and right. yet he's got it.
Right.
How do you explain that?
I don't.
I only wear it when I go into the store when you have to, and we've had to do that since April. We've been wearing masks since April, and yet right. California is supposedly running. We've had pretty much everywhere in California you've had to wear a mask, and yet it's going crazy. So why? I thought they worked. So anyway, no, it's BS.
It's BS. No, I listen, like I said, when it comes to the mask debate, I've gone round and round with people. I think the material itself is a big deal. And I think that, if you're going to wear a mask, then you should be concerned about the material of mask that you're wearing. And I think that social distancing has had more of an impact than masks ever have or ever will. But,
But you know what concerns me is what mentally this has done to people.
Suicide rates.
And I used to think I thought it was just elderly people, but it's across the board. Young people too. This is so, fortunately, the elderly people won't have to live with it too much longer. The young people have got 50 years of it that they're going to have to worry every breath they take when they're going into a restaurant. It's normal. It's crazy. It's like,
it's the new normal, Kevin.
I was at the post. No, we're not saying stop that. I was at the post office a few weeks ago, and there was a lady in front of me, we did, you like kindergartners, you stand on your little X,
you got to stand on your X.
You got to stand on, like kindergartners, okay, and you stand there, and this guy came through. That he was exiting and he came through, and he had rubber gloves on, he had his mask. And he comes through, and he literally, between me and the lady in front of me, he put his hands up, shaking his hands like this, sideways. He walks sideways, and he goes, 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet.
Oh my God!
And I looked at him. I go, "Are you insane? What the hell?" Surprised he didn't have a visor on.
Oh my God!
Like the old lady, poor little old lady I saw yesterday, driving downtown in a car with the windows up, and she's got a mask and a visor. And I'm going,
there are people that are petrified of this virus.
Yeah, and I talk on the neighborhood social app. I don't do it anymore because I was tearing my hair out, and there's not much left to tear out. But that's why it's gone here, because I tore it out.
Right.
But I got into it with these people here in Palm Springs. They're convinced you cannot set foot outside the door without a mask on. You'll die. They really believe that. That's
Right.
mentally, that's what this has done to these people. They will never recover from it. And I said way back in April when this shit started, I said, what's going to happen one day down the road when all of a sudden, okay, all clear. All of a
Right.
sudden one day, they're going to have to give that order. One day it's not going to be okay, and then the next day, okay, it's clear. So what changed between those 2 days?
Right.
I saw this way back in April. Nothing's changed. But those people, they're not going to recover. They're not going to feel safe going out.
The concept of
We will rejoice, but there's a big element of the people that are they're going to be petrified. What they've done mentally to the psyche of the American people is criminal.
yeah.
With this, that's the bottom line.
Well, the globe. It's not just America.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
yes.
the globe.
Yeah, because this ex-friend, this was something we talked about a lot too, and and he's a fellow believer supposedly, and I'm going, where's your faith, dude? It's like they sold it hook, line, and sinker over there in England. They
Yeah.
just bought right into it, and some don't. There's some friends I have. My soccer team in England, Leeds. There's a group that I belong, a Facebook group, and they get it just like we do, the BS part.
There's a
But
lot
there's
of
of people
countries.
that
There's a lot of countries. There's a lot of countries that their culture is to kind of follow along, and they just do. I mean, they just mindlessly do. They just.
that's because they don't really understand freedom anymore, and that's a result of what we talked about earlier, of the influence of trust in the government for everything. This nation wasn't founded. This nation was founded on not trusting the government.
Oh, I know. It was
And
founded
that's the
on
bottom
rebellion.
line. And now we're having to trust, trust what Gavin Newsom says. And I know you've got your own moron up there, but Gavin Newsom is just the stuff that he's
We've
saying.
got a Brown that
Now
we'd like to flush down.
just today, just today I saw him. What was it he said? The counties, because there's sheriffs that are refusing to follow through on his edicts. They're not going to enforce what he's saying. Okay, and so there's counties that are doing that. And he came out today on TV and basically told the counties, you need to reconsider what you're doing, because if you don't follow the law, my rules, we will withhold funding for those counties.
That's how they get them. That's what they do.
And that's a threat. And the mayor of San Diego came on and said, that Newsom, that's a threat. We don't take that, and hopefully the recall will go through, which, who knows if you can trust those.
We tried to recall
I know you did.
six times.
Yeah, I know. And you didn't.
Right.
I'm sure you did the first time.
Well,
I'm sure you did the first time, the second time, the third time. I'm sure you did, and somehow it
never goes through. Listen, and that's something I was talking to a guy today, and I just said, listen, based on what we know now in terms of the Dominion voting system and the mail-in ballots and stuff like that, I wouldn't be surprised if the state of Oregon's elections have been messed up for decades now.
Well, it's the same with California.
If they were stolen for decades.
We just accepted it. Every election, it goes, as soon as the polls close, 2 minutes later, they say, oh,
yep, that's it.
Goes blue. We've accepted it.
Yeah.
We're not accepting it now. It's too.
No, because now, I mean, there is proof. So, I mean, now we're looking at it and we're going, hey, for all we know, Oregon's been red for a long time. For all we know. And California too, for that matter. Who knows?
Well, all you have to do is look at the county. I always, you look at the county map, the election maps, and you see the pockets of blue. And it's the same thing in Oregon. You've got the Portland, the Willamette Valley area. It's all blue, maybe a little bit in the central with Salem. And the rest is red.
Right.
It's just, and it's like that in California. There's pockets of blue where all the people are, and they dictate it for everybody else.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't trust that anymore either.
No,
I don't know
not when you see especially what we were seeing in Hollywood Boulevard. They were doing Trump rallies, marches down Hollywood Boulevard, Rodeo Drive. That's never happened, never. So even in those areas that are blue, there was massive support for Trump.
Right.
So it makes no sense. The numbers don't add it. I'm not a real math guy. I'm not big on math.
But Kevin, listen, once again, nothing can be done. I mean, the people who hold the cards are the elitists, and we don't have a Department of Justice. We don't have a criminal department that's actually going to issue indictments. That's what I'm saying. I mean, one suggestion that somebody said was Trump could call the military and he could try people from a military tribunal or something along those lines, military court. But I mean, the moment he does that, everything they've said about him being a dictator becomes true.
Right. Well, this is the point, Jacob, where my wife and I scream out at night when we pray to the Lord and say, Lord, do something, please intervene. Like I believe he intervened when Trump won the first time. There needs to be, something needs to happen, or like you said, we get back to the old story that all the Christians know is it's going to get really bad for the Christians, and we just have to hope and pray that that the Lord will hear that trumpet sound, and all of a sudden we're gone, and we don't have.
Well, there's some Christians that believe that God's going to come back and take them home before that ever happens. I don't happen to be one of those. I think we're going to go through it.
I don't. Well, I mean, that's fine. I appreciate your position. I don't believe. I believe that we will be taken, and the church as it stands now, the believers that profess Christ.
Wishful thinking. It's wishful thinking.
Well, not necessarily, because I don't believe we will have to suffer the tribulation. I don't believe that was meant for the church. I know there are people that disagree with that, but I don't believe that.
I believe we will,
because there was no point in Jesus dying if that's the case.
No, that's not true. That's not true. Jesus died to save us for later. He didn't die to save us for here. I mean, the world is going to do what it's going to do, and it's going to go downhill, and it has to go downhill according to the book.
Yeah, I'm truthfully.
So we're right on schedule. Biden's going to be president. We're right on schedule for things to fall apart.
We'll see. We've still got some days. We've still got some days to go. He said, okay. Let me throw this out. Okay. See, I try and evaluate everything that goes on and try and put it all together and try and make some sense of what we're seeing. Even the thing the other day with Barr coming out and say, see, they twisted what he said. Okay, and what happened? What happened a couple days, 2 days ago, when the day before, 3 days ago, when Barr made the comment about, well, we've looked into it, and right now, we see no. Okay, check this out. We see no evidence of widespread fraud that would change the outcome. Okay, so what does that tell you?
He's seen no evidence.
No. Okay. See no evidence of what?
Of widespread.
Widespread fraud. That would change the election. That means there's a small spread fraud.
Right.
They've seen. Okay. So my question, and every American should have to answer this question: how much fraud is acceptable?
Yeah.
I'm asking you, Jacob.
You're not asking me.
How much fraud is acceptable to you?
You're not asking me.
That you're okay with, that's okay. That's not going to change anything.
You're asking me.
I'm asking you. How much fraud is acceptable?
None.
Exactly. And
our election.
It's a rhetorical question.
Solid. They should be rock solid.
I'm sorry. What should be rock solid?
Our election should be rock solid.
Absolutely. And so the fact that he said, and the media said this for weeks. Sorry. The media has said they don't see any evidence of widespread fraud. That's been the line. Okay.
Widespread.
But if you look at what Barr said, he said yet.
Right.
There's been none yet that they've seen. Okay. That was 3 days ago. Okay. What did we see yesterday? Okay. He said that has passed his desk. Okay, and apparently the day after and now so the day after the media, and I listen to the radio while I'm working at home, CBS radio station. So they have CBS radio news every hour on the hour and a half. Every hour and a half, they reported on what Barr said.
Right.
They have not touched on any of the Trump team's claims of what's been all the testimony. I know you watched that testimony the other day. We talked, we mentioned it on Facebook. Okay, the first one last week. I watched most of it. You watched obviously a lot of it. No mention of these people's testimonies, which is legally acceptable in court. For you can put people away for murder on one testimony.
Right.
Apparently, I'm
no
not a
proof,
lawyer,
no gun. I saw him do it. Eyewitness testimony. You're going to prison.
And you've got hundreds, maybe thousands of these people. Okay, not one mention in the media. Okay, on CBS radio. Okay, because I listen to it every day.
Well, they're just denying it.
On the day after Barr said that, every stinking hour that I had it on, maybe 5 hours, they reported on it. Okay, that's the only time. And then the next day, it was gone again. Okay, so they pushed. Because Barr said there's no evidence yet, or they didn't even say yet. He says that there's no evidence of widespread fraud. Well, my question right away was, well, that means there is fraud. How much fraud is acceptable? Apparently, some of it is acceptable to Barr and other people, which is how can you justify that? But that's beside the point. And then today, okay, same thing. Yesterday, we see this video and we go, what the hell? Look at this. Okay. Even Tucker Carlson, which we do tune into him. We've pretty much gone off Fox, except for Tucker. And then he pissed us off the other week when he said what he said about he invited Sidney Powell on and she wouldn't come on. And he said, look, if you've got proof, we want to see it. I'll spend an whole show on it. Just show us the proof. Well, then last night he played the video and he talked about it. He brought it up and he was clear as day. It was proof in Tucker's eyes that there was fraud. Okay, so
he said that
he the way he presented it, absolutely. And today they spent all day trying to get answers, from what they could do as a news outfit, trying to get answers from the Georgia people, and pretty much they didn't get anywhere. But they're trying to get answers as to what actually went on, because from what I get from what Tucker says, it was proof, and he talked about he played it, he talked about it. And as far as he's concerned, it's proof.
There's been counter arguments all over Facebook and the news saying that it actually wasn't fraud. Fact checkers have come out and said it wasn't.
Yeah, right. If you're getting it from Facebook and the news, they're lying. There's nothing in the media that you can trust.
The fact checker said it wasn't.
So anytime now I hear any of that from CBS or in any of them, it just I don't believe it.
The lady responsible for bringing the suitcases in said, "Oh, there was nothing, no fraud."
Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here, folks. Yeah,
right.
Well, that's BS. We know it's BS. And anyway, so that's still to play out. But the point is, Jake, is that was just yesterday that we saw this. So now that evidence has gone across Barr's desk. Okay. Now that is evidence. And then today on the radio, some guy was on and said that he knows that there are other videos to come out. Okay, so check this out.
Other videos?
That's what I heard, that there are other videos of surveillance videos. See, okay, and the reason, we got on this little rabbit trail for one reason, and that was going back. Remember, I asked you, I said, when you said it's all over, Biden's going to win. I said, but wait, okay, why? Why is it that Trump, from the get-go, said we got them, we caught them? Okay, Sidney Powell
planned this.
I'm going to say, I'm just saying what I'm observing. Okay, Trump is saying right from the get-go after the election, we've caught him. There's massive fraud. Sidney Powell came out and said we're going to blow Georgia up. That video was from Georgia. Okay. And down, so you've got Sidney Powell, you've got Rudy Giuliani, you've got Lin Wood, who's quite an amazing speaker. I hadn't really heard him speak until lately. He's quite something to listen to. You've got Jenna Ellis. Okay, so you got, and then and there's probably a few other on the team that are big names. Well, Sydney's supposedly not on the team.
Right, she's not.
Well, she's not, no. So whatever, but she's working on it. Okay, but she's sticking her neck out on the chopping block. Okay.
Right.
So you've got all these people. Look at Rudy. His entire life accumulated in as the mayor of New York, and he's America's mayor. Everybody loves Rudy Giuliani. You know, forgetting that he put away mafia people. You know,
Why? That was cool.
he was not scared of any of these people. You know, people that could shoot you on the street without worrying about it. Okay, you know, this guy, you know, there. So his life's work as a lawyer now is culminating the same with Sydney and Linwood and Jenna. Why are these people still after 3 weeks now, or maybe more? Why are they sticking their neck? Their entire reputations are on the line here. Why?
According to CNN, he's crazy. Giuliani's crazy.
Yeah, well, you know, I thought before, you know, when none of this was happening, and he would be a guest on shows, you kind of go, but I tell you, he's a sharp. After watching him now, he's sharp.
He's sharp.
None of that craziness that I saw on those interviews is coming out now. He's focused and he tells it like it is. And I do not see that craziness. I thought he was getting a little loopy, but you know. But the point is why are these other people, why are they sticking their necks out on the line? And they're convinced that they're going to win this. Why is that? There's something else. Okay, Lindy said she saw an interesting picture the day after the election. It was a room supposedly right across from the White House, and it was rose. You know, when you see a good cyber movie and you see the guys sitting there and there's computer screens everywhere and they're watching, you know, or even military, when you see ops going on, there's screens everywhere that they know, they see it. You know, she said she saw that supposedly Trump had spent time in this place across from the White House, and it was a place that was full of this kind of equipment. Okay. When it comes to the military intelligence, you know, do they have I'm just asking this guy, I don't, somewhere, like I said yesterday, where did that video come from yesterday that we saw?
So
I'm sure if the people, so was that a recording of the video? Okay, was that the real video, or was it a recording? And then the people, when they saw what was going on, went and, like you see in the movies, they go get the security guy, kill him, and erase the tapes. You know, did that happen? Are these erased? I mean, these are all questions that I don't have the answer to.
Well, one thing I will say this. I will say this. You know, and I was actually going to say it earlier, and then I stopped because we got sidetracked a little bit. But in my opinion, because you said Trump's been talking about this for months leading up to the election.
They expected it.
They expected it. So in my opinion, if he's been talking about it for months, he's expected it all this time, and he hasn't done anything to prepare for it, then he's an idiot, and he deserves to be. He deserves.
And that is why I asked a question. Why are these people so convinced that they have the goods? You know, when it first started after the election, everyone was saying, there's no evidence, no evidence. And day by day, we see evidence. I mean, those people's testimony, I was stunned before I saw the video of the boxes coming out from under the table. Before I even heard about that, those testimonies stunned me of what they were saying. And it wasn't just one state, it's several states.
Right.
And every one of them could overturn the election. So this talk about widespread fraud that would not affect the outcome, that's bullshit. It would absolutely affect the outcome.
Right.
And it would end up showing what we felt all along, that Trump won this in a landslide.
So you don't think that this is just, you know, par for the course, America's on the decline and it's the end times and Christians need to suck it up, accept their fate, and get ready for the tribulation?
No, I don't buy that. I'm not buying into that. As I said, I don't give up. I have a bit more faith in people. See, we're supposed to be salt of the earth. We're not supposed to just lay down and give in. We're supposed to fight for whatever we can. Okay, the Lord will decide when it's time. We don't decide when it's time. We don't decide that it's time to lay down. We're supposed to keep fighting and preserve what we've got. I mean, let's face it. This country was founded 400 odd years ago, you know, on religious freedom, and God bless that. Okay, I don't believe God's going to turn his back on that. Okay, and then you've got the sacrifices. of people that who gave up their lives
But
for
maybe it's not.
for
Maybe
that
it's not
religious
a turning
freedom.
your
I don't
back.
believe
Maybe
God's
that's
going to turn his back on that.
maybe that's not a turn your back thing. Maybe that's according to God's plan thing.
Yeah, but you can't specifically say that that is.
I don't know if it is. I'm simply
Right.
saying
That
you're
is a
using the
conjecture on your
words,
part.
God's turning his back. I'm saying maybe that's not the case. Maybe that's according to God's plan.
Well, but then the U.S. isn't mentioned anywhere that I know of in Scripture. Why is that?
Because it doesn't exist.
Because what, it gets blown up. Joe ends up blowing it all up. Is that what's going to happen?
We're right on schedule.
Yeah. Well, but hey, okay. Let's not get back into that part. I am fascinated though with this concept that Trump knew ahead of time. So what did they do to prepare? They had to do something. And I believe, see, like, do they have the ability to hack into surveillance cameras anywhere?
You heard about the raid in Germany, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So literally that raid in Germany happened like the next day after the election. There's no way that raid could have happened had they not had it planned in advance.
Right.
That's less than 24 hours notice, man. You're going to assemble a crew, raid a facility,
Yeah,
and
this
take
whole
that
this
off
whole
servers? No,
this whole
they had
thing
a
about
plan.
this whole thing about what's come out about the Dominion people and the connections with Chavez, and they've known this for years. It's not, this isn't something that they just found out after the election. So it all is part of what, see, I hate to say this because it's gonna clue some people that may listen and go, there you go, it's a whack job, but there's a phrase, people need to see it. The people need to see it. Okay.
Right.
And that is what I believe is taking place, is that whatever strategy, we may agree with it or not, that the Trump team has put to, I mean, Hannity's driving me crazy lately, and he's saying it's too late. They should have done what are they supposed to do? It's a process that takes time. And what we're seeing,
You're saying trust the
we're
plan.
seeing that process of they're showing the people. The people can only handle so much.
So
And
you're saying trust the plan.
As trust the plan, yeah. As the time goes on, it started out is like there's I don't even, the line slow, and then as time's going on, as we get, if this is deadline day for the election electoral thing,
We're gonna have a light jump.
It's going, people have started, at first nobody was listening and they started releasing stuff. And now I believe these next 10 days is just going to be,
we're going to see a Biden.
I don't know what else could be more powerful than that video of what we saw yesterday. Maybe they've got something even bigger. I'm hoping they do. I'm hoping that they've got, when Sydney said, we're going to blow up Georgia, that's pretty strong words. And not to have anything in the end.
But what good is that if we don't have a DOJ that is actually going to indict?
Yeah, but is it the DOJ's job or is it the Supreme Court's job? I believe this has been all
the Supreme Court's going to rule on the election. They're not going to send people to jail or prison.
We can deal with that later. I'm more concerned whether or not Joe is sworn in on the 21st of January.
I want heads on pikes.
I want heads to roll too. I want to put him in stocks and throw cabbages at him.
At this point,
days.
My concern is not whether or not Trump gets the presidency. I want heads on pikes for the election fraud.
So are you saying you'd be okay if Joe gets in?
If there's heads on pikes for the election fraud, I don't give a shit.
I'm going to have to think about that one. That day when I sat for several years ago, when I sat on my living room couch and I watched what's his face, the big tall guy, Comey, when he stood there in front of America and he laid out point after point after point after point of why Hillary should go to jail, and I'm sitting there going, my jaws are open. I go, he's going to do it. My God, he's going to do it. And then right at the end, no. And at that point, I knew, forget it. We're not ever going to get any justice. So that part of it that's for future discussion. Immediately, we need to make sure that this election.
How can you be okay with that?
I'm not okay with it. I'm not
Level.
okay. But you pick your battles wisely. Okay.
Right. So who cares about the presidency at this
Oh,
point?
come on. Now you're playing. You're
Put
playing.
some heads on pikes.
Huh?
So who
No.
cares about the presidency at this point? Let's put some heads on pikes for election fraud.
Now you're being, what's the word?
You said choose your battles. If I had a battle to choose, I would give up this presidency to have a solid election.
Well, no, I can't go with that.
From this day
No. Wait. If you allow Joe to get in, even if people's heads get on pikes, if you allow Joe to get in, then it was a fraudulent election. So how can you see, your point is to stop a fraudulent election. By allowing Joe in, that's not stopping a fraudulent election.
Okay.
So your argument falls short.
Yeah. So, okay. But, once again, my point is this. People want to prove there's fraud in the election for Trump to become president. I don't care so much about that as I do.
Actually, that's not necessarily true.
As I do about putting an end to fraudulent elections. That to me is more important. That is more critical.
Okay, wait a minute though. Oh, think about it. Think about it in a time frame. Okay, we can't do anything. Okay, if the Trump team can prove and overturn this, well, it's not even an overturn. Trump legitimately won. It's been stolen. So what they're not trying to overturn the election. They're trying to stop the steal, which is that slogan that they come. That's literally what's happening. They're trying to steal the election. Okay, it's not don't even think for 1 minute they're trying to overturn the election. They didn't, because the results were Trump won. Okay, so when you get that in your head, okay, then when Trump gets back for the next, just think what is going to happen for the next 4 years if he gets back in office.
If Trump gets back in office,
yeah,
my hope is that
with the two senators in Georgia, we haven't talked about them yet, but everything that's affected Trump in those falls also affects those two. Okay, so the question is, those two Georgia senators won, I'm sure, in a landslide too. Okay, so
right.
so you maintain the Senate, you've got the White House, and you've got it's only a small handful of extra people in the House. In 2 years, we could very well flip the House back. Okay, and what do you think? Okay, so even if we have to wait 2 years, what would happen if Trump had the Senate, the House, and the White House those last 2 years? What changes do you think are going to be made so that you get your legal election in 4 years' time? See, that's the big picture that I look at. The big picture. You're looking at the immediate.
No, the big picture is solid elections.
Yeah, and we need to get to the point where we can have that, and we need to get Trump back in. Otherwise, do you think for 1 minute that there will be if you just give in and allow Joe to get it? Do you think
I'm not giving in squat? I'm simply saying that I want solid elections. But you're right. If Joe gets in, everything goes.
There will not be any one more. No, there will be no more decent elections.
Everything goes away.
Every election from now on will be fixed, guaranteed.
You're right.
Okay.
Just like
that's the big picture. And so there's only one answer, and that's why I said if Joe gets in, we're screwed, big time. And that's the bottom line. That's the big picture. Trump won. We know that. Nothing adds up. I said earlier, I'm not a math guy, but when you analyze the data of what happened with how Republicans won all the way down the card, pretty much. I mean, look at all those House seats we took back. No, even
I'm
just
not
today.
a math guy either, but election night, it's basic math to figure out how many people voted in the state, how many votes came in, what the margin is, and whether or not.
But why in California?
It didn't make sense then.
Do you know how many? I don't know the number, but I know it's a lot of Republican House people won. It was.
Oh yeah.
It was red. Why, if the state voted so much for Joe, why did they all vote for the red guys?
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
There's a lot that doesn't make sense.
There's no explaining that.
But you've got half of the population that doesn't care because their guy won.
There's only one explanation, and that is it was fixed.
Fraud. Right.
That's the only explanation that makes, and it's like that across the nation.
Right.
Well, across the states. you know, so.
Well, we've talked for over an hour.
Uh-oh, I'm missing my Hallmark movie.
No, I don't mean to miss your movie, but I just want to let you were worried about what we were going to talk about.
Yeah, well, I knew if we got going on that, I mean, I could talk for another 2 hours, but I don't want to keep the wife waiting.
All right.
Our escape is watching the stupid Christmas.
Oh, I'm gonna wrap it up.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Let's do it again. That was
No,
fun.
thanks for talking with me. I appreciate it.
Oh,
I really do. So if you watch the video, thanks for watching the video. Leave the comments below, like, subscribe, whatever you do, and visit the website www.larsonsblog.com. Thank you much.